I have great expectations for this one. This is going to pass right away. There's two reasons why I have that feeling, and I'll let you know about those, and we'll get into looking at this certification for the International Scissor Sharpeners Association. So in case you're new to my channel and you're like, what in the world is the ISSA, or the International Scissor Sharpeners Association? It is an organization of sharpeners that there's a one-time fee to join. There's a one-time fee to be certified. The certification is totally subjective. It's done by me, but I do it online so all of you can see exactly what I'm seeing. So I feel like that kind of makes it fair. And it's just minimal level skills of sharpening hairstylist shears. So I want to know if you know how to convex, and bevel a bevel. Now, the reason I have such high hopes for this one is, number one, he passed my written test. And if you go back and you search some of my ISSA things here on YouTube, you'll see I tell you the answers to the test. So that should be no secret. Number two, it's just the letter he sent with it. It sounds like someone who actually knows what's going on and is observing things. In his letter, he said the convex edge shears, he sharpened at 45 degrees, and he said they were beveled on arrival. A lot of people aren't catching that. Yes, they have a little teeny tiny micro bevel, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And then he also said it had two nylon washers, and he took one out and they cut fine with just the one washer. Okay, so the shears that I use, you'll see it in a minute when I do the certification, but this is the shears I use. Sometimes it's a purple screw, sometimes it's a blue. But these are from a company that the shears are made by Ramon Eichert. You may have, those of you who've been sharpening for a while, may have remembered the R.S. Eichert company that was in Fremont, Ohio. And this is one of the Eichert brothers, and they're always traditionally, Eichert has always put, unless you specifically ask them, because our early Bonika Shears were actually private labeled by the R.S. Eichert shears. That's how far back we go with them. But unless you specifically ask for something different, they all have like a little micro bevel or semi-convex, because they do go longer between sharpening, and they kind of hold their edge better. And it's a decision on their part, not that they can't convex it, but that's the way they do make their shears. And the other one, they always put in two washers. And Ramon's going to be one of our educators at the Sharpeners Jam, and which is coming up in just a few weeks. So that might be a question to put to him. But any of the Eichert shears I came across always had two washers. But you know what? I did the same thing this guy did. I always took one washer out, and they cut fine. They gave me a washer for another shear. So I like that. That means he's knowledgeable about what's going on. Number two, he's talking about the bevel edge shear, and he said this is one he probably wouldn't sharpen. It's not cost effective to his customers, and there's not much to them. That's what I wanted you to know. It's not much to them. Less is more on that second shear. And he says, charge and call if I'm returning, if they don't pass. Otherwise, I can reuse them. So I'm assuming this is going to be a quick video. So I'm hoping these pass really well. So let's take a look at his shears. So let me get out my secret testing paper, which is toilet tissue. Single ply. You can also use puff tissue that you pull it apart. The idea is that you just want it really, really thin. And then I'm going to need some hair. Here's some hair. This is actually from the lady that makes my husband's toupees, which he has quit wearing toupees. It's been over 6 months since he's worn a toupee. So let me open these up. He's got them sealed up good. That's always a good sign. As somebody that understands how crazy things. I'm going to move this out of the way. I don't want to get that mixed up with his. I'll put it up there. So I'm pulling them out. And the first thing I'm going to do is see if they cut before I inspect them, do anything else. So here's the convex edge. We've got his number on it. He sent me the extra washer. He should have just kept it. And I'm pulling my thumb out. Least pressure possible. They cut dry. We try these dry, and then I'll try them both wet. And that's the biggest thing, you know, do they cut? I mean, you can make a lot of other mistakes. But if they cut, you can keep a customer happy. You can do a lot of other things right, but if they don't cut, your customer is not going to be happy. Okay, thumb out, least pressure possible, and slow. Slight pull at the tip, but not much. Let's see how these cut wet. Give it about 3 squirts. Now these, if they don't cut wet, it's not a crime because these are such cheap scissors. They cut good. A little bit of pull at the tip, but for what these are, like he assessed them right, that these are kind of walk-away shears. It's not what you charge for sharpening is not worth it. Let's see, I want to give this a fair test. And you see why I wet it. It's just so easy to tear this tissue when it's wet, and it tells you if there's anything that's just not right. That looks like a good spot right there. Okay, and when I do this, I kind of tilt my hand up, pull my thumb out, and slow, 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 slow. Perfect cut. Oh, yay! It's going to be an easy one to certify today. So let's take a look at them. And what I'm looking for is anything that looks weird. Now, the beveled edge has some uneven angles to it, but it cut. And the tip's not too sharp, so which is good. You don't want the tip to scratchy. A little bit scratchy, but it's got a wonky looking edge to it. Let me let you look at that. This is room for improvement. Yeah, you see that it looks like a couple of different angles there. Maybe he didn't get a burr all the way down. See, it looks a little wonky there. Those of you that are not in the United States and you might not know what wonky means, that's wonky. Just a little bit of not right. Looks a little bit off, but it's still cut. I'm going to try it one more time, but I mean, you see, when I cut that spot that we saw that was wonky, it's not cutting the wet tissue good. But it's cutting dry, and the tip pulls. Let me see how it cuts hair. I said he passed, but after looking at it, I might have second thoughts on this one. It's pushing back in here, where it looked a little off. Alright, let's look at this, the convex edge. Outside looks pretty good. You know what? I'm seeing the same spot, kind of that was here, and that was here, right there and right there. Same spot on the blade that's almost like he's not there at the edge. Let me let you look at those. Yeah, just look at how the light hits that a little bit when I turn it to the edge. Just a little bit different in that spot. It's once again, it's a little wonky, and it's odd that they're both wonky in the same spot. It makes me think there's something to do with his equipment. Definitely has a nick he's left here at the tip, and that tip is not, it's got a little bit of a dip down in it, but it cuts fine. Ride line looks nice. A little wide here, but it's probably an alignment issue. We've had a few alignment issues with these. Yeah, there's definitely a nick right here. It's not affecting the cut on the tissue. Let's see if it affects the cut on the hair. pushing pretty bad. You see that? I'll let you look at that nick on the tip. But it didn't seem to affect the cut on the tip. But back here it was pushing. It just doesn't feel, when I feel back here, it doesn't feel as sharp back here as it does up there. And that's where it was pushing. Same thing here. There's a difference in the sharpness. I like my green polish for St. Patrick's Day here. Well, did I knock whatever was there off with my nail? I swear I felt a nick earlier. Promise you. Do I see a nick? You're going to think I'm imagining these things. Really don't. So maybe instead of a nick, it was a little burr that was left behind or something. Because I swear I don't feel it now. Wait a minute. Little bit right there. Man, that's so teensy. I'm not even really seeing it with a magnifier. So we're just going to ignore that. I'm passing these with a C level. I was a school teacher. These are not B, and they're definitely not an A. I'm going to leave it up to him if he would like to try again and make them an A, but I mean, I always said passing is passing, you know. No one ever asked their doctors what their GPA was when they were in college, and you know, either you pass or not. So I'm going to say he passed, and because they do cut, I think his customers would be happy. I think he could do better. It's a passing with a C.